This video is not gonna look great. It's not gonna sound great. I'm out here in one of my favorite places down here by the river, by the Hudson River. I could see the pedestrian bridge over there and the Mid-Hudson Bridge behind me, which you could see in this shot. I don't have any real, I guess I have a gigantic softbox of the sky here on my face, so it's giving me a little bit of light and some lights coming through on this side through the trees, but it's not going to look great. But I don't feel great today, and I am this close to ending this daily diary thing and posting to YouTube in general, because I've been looking at all these YouTube videos obviously every day. I watch YouTube just like everybody else. I don't have cable. I even watch films on YouTube sometimes. I have 2 feature films on YouTube. I have a 4-part miniseries of a play on YouTube. I use YouTube, but I'm sick of YouTube. And I don't know if it's YouTube to blame, because it's just a mirror of what's happening in the world. It's a window into what's happening in the world, not a mirror. It's a mirror of me when I look at my own videos, but it's a window to what's happening out here. And it's really disturbing to me. And I'm sick of it. First of all, in the camera space, I couldn't be more bored, because really what it's become is, the usual stuff of people talking about cameras and lenses and gimbals and lights and things like that, and dynamic range. And yesterday I watched the Gerald Undone video about how to upload better, but I would say it's 50% people attacking one another too. Like the Justin Phillip Cam Mackey fight back and forth, and one person trying to be bigger than the other person or better or whatever, and both of them do like the great work. They're both very talented, and then other YouTubers chiming in, which I guess I'm doing now. But I'm so sick of it. I'm so tired. It's so childish. It's so stupid. And also, I don't know. Like it's just a money thing. You know what I mean? It's just commerce. It's advertising. It's not like I'm here for a daily diary. I'm here for a creative thing. But you might say, like, if it's just a daily diary, why don't you just post it on your website? Why post it anywhere? Why not just make the daily diary, watch it, make it look cool, whatever you want to do, be artistic, be creative, create something beautiful, and store it. That's a daily diary. It exists. Just like it exists here. Why am I putting it out for the world to see? What's the purpose of that? And I'm questioning that. And I know that I have people who say, oh, I get a lot from this and blah, blah, blah. And that, okay, I appreciate that, and that's important to me. And obviously, as an artist, that's what I hope for, that when I make work, that people get something from it. That they feel there's like some kind of contribution that I'm making to them and their life, making things better, not worse, or being provocative, bringing things up, which, that's what I do in my art. And I'm working on a feature film, and I'm working on a play, and I'm working on a documentary right now. I'm really fucking busy. And I think I'm very, very close to going back to, like before there were even computers or internet, and just doing the work and living my life and trying not to pay attention to all the bullshit. That's the reason I left social media. That's the reason I left Facebook and Instagram, because I was just like, it all seemed so silly to me. It seemed like people just, vying for attention, and I guess I'm doing the same thing. Look at me, look at me, look at me. Like I could not be less interested in that, really. Do I want people to come to my performances? Of course. But that's like a traditional thing, that is community. That's real life. Do I want people to watch my films? Of course. That's an experience as well. But that's not YouTube. That's not social media, And I think that's what I'm finding myself pulling away from more and more. And, honestly, I feel like if I stay on any of these platforms, I should probably go back to Facebook and Instagram, because that's where I can promote my shows, my films, what I'm doing. If I do fundraisers, I could probably do a lot better there than I do here. Obviously, I'm going to continue with my Patreon and posting to Patreon, but at Patreon, I'm sharing the work that I'm doing. I'm not doing this every day. I'm not commentating on the world. I feel like I've become like some kind of commentator or oh my God, I can't believe I'm about to say this, but like an influencer of sorts. And I hate that so much. I am not here to influence anything. I'm here to make art, and then it's yours. You take from it whatever you want to take from it. Like that's it. I mean, I watched a video by Justin Phillip this morning, and I just thought, this is so sad to me. I saw the Cam Mackey video where he talked about it, and it's like people are actually spending time doing this, and I understand what they're doing. They're salvaging their reputations. They're like, they don't want, when somebody puts some bullshit out into the world about them, they want to be able to, respond to it and keep their reputations, which is fine and makes total sense, Of course, now there's a motorcycle, like not on the road, but on the grass where people are sitting. I don't get that. So anyway, and the other thing is I feel like, like I've been watching channels that I've loved for a long time, channels that I've learned from, channels that give really good information about camera gear, filmmaking, things of that nature, but it's much, much less, you know what I mean? Much, like few and far between, where I see a channel that's really like Potato Jet used to be, or, a plethora of other people. I won't even mention names, but there are so many channels that I learned from that they don't even exist anymore, really. Like, I feel like that space of YouTube doesn't really exist anymore, and partially because we don't need it, because it's all out there. It's all evergreen content. You can go see the videos from 5 years ago, from 10 years ago. They're already out there, so you can't like redo them without fronting about it, you know what I mean? Without like making believe that you're not just doing the same thing over and over again, because you are. I mean, I'm trying to commentate, I'm trying to comment on, the world every day, you know what I mean? But it's a daily diary for me. Like, how is that? Like, I feel like I'm just blah, 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 blah every day. That's what it feels like to me sometimes. And that's what I certainly feel like when I turn on YouTube. Like, this morning I watched Camera Conspiracies, and I love his channel. It's funny, like it's a comedy show, really, but he's really smart and he does know what he's doing. But even that channel, I feel like, is just becoming blah, blah, blah. Like, Fuji is becoming Nikon, or, like, he's just trying to find things to talk about, which I guess is what YouTube is all about. We're just trying to figure out what to talk about today. And for me, I've been doing it every day. And sometimes I find myself in this pejorative mode. Like, I actually do find myself judging other channels sometimes. And who am I to judge? Like, my channel is like nothing. It's nothing. I don't know. It's like when people say, hey guys, that drives me crazy. Hey guys, like we're all sitting in the same room and you're my people. I mean, we're not each other's people. You're just watching a show, you're just doing, like listening on the way to work, or listening when you're taking a shower, or listening when you're cooking. Some people are not even watching, we're trying to make beautiful content, and you're just listening, and it's YouTube. That's a little crazy too, but people should be able to do whatever they want to do when they turn on their device. If you want to just listen, I mean, people put podcasts on YouTube, for God's sake. How does that make sense? It's a podcast, but it's because people come to YouTube. Do people even go to like podcast, apps anymore? I don't know. Probably. But anyway, I'm very close to stopping. I don't know if I'm going to stop, because it is like a daily practice for me. It's a creative practice. It's a ritual. I enjoy doing it, but it kind of makes me a little embarrassed sometimes, like I feel dumb. I feel like I should be doing other things, I should be completely focused on my work, and then I should allow for empty space in my life, like allow for myself to have nothing to do for 3 or 4 hours and not feel like I need to come here and just blah, blah, blab, because I don't really know what I'm contributing with a daily diary, and I'm also very close to not watching YouTube at all, really. Like, And I don't mean like I'm threatening, I'm very close to do that because, first of all, who gives a fuck? Like, nobody cares what I do. I'm saying I find myself very close to not watching at all because I'm watching less and less. I'm not interested. You know, like I'm watching sports stuff, but even the sports stuff is like, it's not interesting anymore because it's like becoming more important than the actual games, you know? Like we want to know about the athletes' lives and their contracts and you know, the drama that they get involved with more than we care about the actual game. And then when we watch the game, we know about all this other baggage and it kind of ruins the whole thing, you know? Like there used to be a beautiful distance between us and the athletes, us and the artists, us and the guy or the woman up on stage, or us and the quarterback, us and the point guard. There was a big distance between us. That's what they do. I mean, I don't know anything about my plumber's life. I don't know anything about the guy who owns the bodega on the corner. I don't care. But if I have a good experience going in there, we have a nice conversation, and I don't want to know anything more about him. I don't want to know more about the pizza guy. I just want to know that I walk in here and it's fun, we have a good exchange, because that's the gig. That's what he's supposed to do, make good food and be a nice guy or be a nice woman or whatever. You know, like this whole knowing everything about everybody all day, every day is, I don't know about you, but it's kind of ruining it for me. It's making me uninterested in everything. And then, of course, politics, world events. I think I'm in complete denial over the fact that we could at any moment experience a nuclear winter. Like, we are kind of approaching, well, let me put it this way. What's happening in Gaza right now, where they're talking about aid workers are starving to death. That is despicable across the board. You know, people are evacuating because they're being told your community is about to get bombed. We're bombing residential areas, hospitals, you know, because you know, under the auspices that we think there are horrible people living in the basement or something like that. You know, it's just so obvious what's happening. And regardless, like, one thing I know is that none of us know shit. We don't know anything. Like, we don't really know what's happening anywhere, but we do know that people are dying and people are starving. Children are starving. People can't have a life. They can't go to school. They can't go to work. They can't go to the movies. They can't do anything because they're living in Ukraine. They're living in Sudan. They're living in these horrible places. People are being disappeared off the street, you know. People are talking about nuclear weapons, you know, we're at odds with Russia, China, North Korea, you know, everywhere. London, Canada, you know, everybody hates us now. And I'm talking from perspective of somebody in the United States. It's like, I feel like I'm in denial at how dangerous the world is right now. You know, I just sent an email to a friend of mine who sent me a video this morning that was so disturbing. It just took me off, you know. But I wrote back to her and I said, you know, I never thought I would be at a place in my life where I felt like the people who I loved, who are gone, who are dead, were lucky to have died when they did. That they don't have to live through this period of time where it's so difficult to just make a schedule, to live your life, to have goals, to have plans, to have, you know, like something that you want to get accomplished by a certain day, and so you have it mapped out of how you're going to approach your day-to-day to get there. Like, it's just so crazy to me because everything seems so trivial because everything's so crazy, you know? Look what's happening right now with all this political stuff and stuff just being thrown out into the ether, you know, like we're hearing about the Martin Luther King files, the Hillary Clinton emails, the Barack Obama's being investigated. Like, what world are we living in? This is complete insanity. I mean, who cares about any of that shit? So, yeah, anyway, as far as this daily diary thing, you know, I'm going to do a daily diary, of course. I'm going to do it for myself. I've always kept a diary. This is a video diary. I'm going to continue to do my Patreon, of course. But I'm not making enough money on YouTube. I'm making like, you know, I get $150 every 3 months or every 2 months, something like that. That's like, who cares? I mean, it's nice, of course. It's nice to get some free groceries every 3 months, but if I was making real money here, this would be a different story. And that's why I kind of understand these YouTubers doing all this bullshit back and forth that they're doing with each other, because a lot of them are earning a living here. Like, this is their livelihood. They're making bank. And so to engage the way they're engaging, okay, they're doing that because they're paying for their Tesla, which is how you driving a Tesla now. But, that's what they're doing. They're paying for their house payments. They're taking care of their kids. They're having a life. So I guess I understand that. But for the rest of us, for me, like for anybody who's on the level that I'm at, which I know I'm making a lot more money than most people on YouTube. Most people are doing it for free. Most people are, they're making 7 cents a month. They're going to get paid in 2.5 years or something like that if YouTube decides to allow them to stay monetized. So I don't know, I don't know, like it's kind of making me sick, you know what I mean? And I don't mean physically sick, although maybe it is making me physically sick because I got a lot of stuff going on with my body too. I actually have been paid to coach people to how to do YouTube channels because I know how this works. And I tell them up front, I'm like, look, don't use me as an example because I'm not willing to do the things that I know that are necessary to be successful on YouTube, like truly successful, to get sponsors, to do things like that. Like companies that have approached me, they wind up hating me because they don't want to hear from what I'm talking about, and I'm not mad at them. I'm not aggressive with it. I'm just like, I'm not doing what you're asking me to do, so I'll never have sponsors. I'll never have people giving me shit for free. Although I do have, occasionally people do send me stuff for free, but I think I'm just on some kind of random list because they don't really engage with me. And if I don't like something or if I don't feel like it, I just take it and, like they just mail it to me. Or I just say no all the time. I mean, I'm not part of the commerce of this. I'm not part of the capitalism of it. I'm not part of the stuff where you have to compromise your integrity to do this. And that might sound harsh to people, but you are compromising your integrity. You're doing something that you would not generally do just to make money, just to be successful. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. I'm not criticizing that, but that is what you're doing. And I'm not doing that. And I'm here to say that a lot of it, again, I guess I was kind of triggered to this moment by watching Justin Phillips this morning. I actually love his channel. But it makes me cringe a little bit sometimes when he gets really defensive and serious with it because I feel like I'm watching somebody who is really hurt, and the cruelty that goes back and forth and the childishness of it, the immaturity of what goes back and forth with these guys is terrible. And then, watching people who've got these shows where they just talk like Filmmaker podcasts or whatever, and they laugh about it and they make jokes and they're all like sarcastic and shit. Like, yeah, I don't dig it. I don't like it. It's not my thing. So anyway, I'm questioning a lot right now. I don't like this game of people showing up to your channel to watch you a lot, but then if you don't watch them a lot, they disappear. And then all of a sudden you see a video where they say something that is about that, like this, exchange that people have on YouTube. Like, if you watch my video, I'll watch your video. Like, I ain't even thinking like that. I'm doing a daily diary, I watch shit that I'm interested in. And what I notice is I'm interested in less and less stuff here on YouTube. And what I'm also interested in is that I have forgotten how to leave just empty, open space in my life. I've forgotten how to do that. I've forgotten the value of that. I am as productive as I've ever been. I got no problem being productive. I got no problem finishing products, but the quality of my life is kind of changed, and it's not my fault necessarily. It's the way the world is changing, and I ain't with it. You know what I mean? Like AI, and like people arguing about the good parts of AI. There, of course, am I somebody who doesn't believe in progress? Of course not. But there's so much of AI, this world, this culture. We're living in a culture of AI. I ain't with that. Like, I don't like it at all. I notice that every time I hear a voiceover that I know is AI, I click off immediately. I don't want to hear it. I'm not interested in that. I'm not interested in something that ChatGPT created. I'm not interested in that. If I know that you did something with the help of ChatGPT, I find myself immediately uninterested because I want to hear from you. Are you educated? Have you read anything in your life? Have you watched anything in your life? Have you lived in your life? Do you have anything to you? Like, you need all this help? You don't like being stuck sometimes and having to find your way out of it. You don't understand how to overcome obstacles to solve problems. Like, you don't like that. You want everything just handed to you. I hate that notion across the board. It just makes me sick. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, for now, I'm doing whatever I'm doing. I'm not saying anything, but I'm just, it's ironic that I'm even making this video saying this, but it's part of my diary, and I am doing this every day. And I don't consider that I have a relationship with people who watch my channel. I appreciate people who watch my channel. I'm interested in some of the stories. Like, for example, there's a photographer named Dan Farrar who is like legally blind. And this motherfucker is an incredibly talented photographer. And he does these great videos, really interesting videos. And, he's a very kind of genuine guy. And I just think to myself, people don't even know what some of these people are going through in the world. You know what I mean? Like, he's fucking blind. And he's a photographer. So figure that out. How does he do it? I guess he's not 100% blind, but think about that. There are people going through a lot of mental health things here, and there's a lot of shit out there. So that never gets past me, and that's what I appreciate in people, knowing their stories. But I don't ever take for granted that I know them. I know the people in my real life who I go eat lunch with, who I talk to on the phone all the time, who I see, who I work with, who I engage with all the time. Anyway, I don't know. I'm telling you, I'm very close to. I've bailed on Facebook. I've bailed on Instagram. I might even go back there just because, like right now, I have to sell. I'm sending this out to my mailing list. I got to sell 20 prints to raise enough money to buy 2 more cameras and 2 more tripods to do this movie, and 1 more microphone. So I need to sell 20 prints. And I'm like, I know on YouTube people don't want to hear that kind of stuff. But on Facebook and Instagram, I can do fundraisers. I can do a GoFundMe. I can do stuff like that. And that's more social media-ish, you know what I mean? And I've survived like that for many, many years. I've done very successful fundraisers that I'm so incredibly grateful for. So, I see the light changing, moving around, the sun. Anyway, I'm thinking a lot about making some changes, and who knows if I will or I won't. I live in this world. The world is what it is. I can't control it. I don't want to control it, but I can control what I do and how I live my life, and what I, choose to engage with from moment to moment. And that's what our life is. Our lives are moment to moment now more than ever. So, yeah, that's what I was feeling today. I'll talk to you later.